Coming up now, it's time to meet our next guest, Jim Tomasulo, CEO of Vespula Capital, LLC. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Tommy.
Well, we appreciate you being here because you're going to give us some insight on something that is, it's a dark hole for a lot of people, and they can't figure it out. But listen, you are a trader and investor with you are a trader and investor with nearly 18 years of experience in a variety of asset classes and varying risks. Tell me about your past.
Yeah, absolutely. So I entered in the market where some people would say was an opportune time, and I came into the market in 1996 as a proprietary trader, which basically just means that I was trading, a bank money, and it wasn't our own capital or clients' capital at the time. And what a great time to come into the market! It was the height, or the beginning of the internet boom, and it was a great time to make money. But what interestingly happened was in 2001, after I'm thinking I'm a genius after making millions of dollars, I couldn't make a dime. In 2001 came, and the markets changed, and the strategy that I was taught, or the skill that I was taught on how to make money, wasn't working anymore. So that became, a really eye-opening experience for me, and kind of changed the way I look at investing, and I looked at the markets. So over the next 10 years, I tried to develop a strategy that could actually create consistent income over, the course, just consistently. Because, it was really hard for me to do research and use PEs and RSIs and consistently make money.
Well, let me real quick just poke my head in there for a second, because let's go back a little bit to 98 and those times. I mean, it had to be crazy. I was just watching it from the peripheral. It seemed like the wild, wild west.
Oh, it was insane. When you see, I saw the good and I saw the bad of it. Right, when you see a stock going from $3 to $150 within 6-7 days, you can get this euphoria of saying, "Hey, I'm a genius. I know what I'm doing." Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, you saw guys like Stanley Druckenmiller, who's one of the top premier fund managers, get destroyed during that time because he was looking at fundamentals, and the fundamentals didn't make sense. I mean, I saw a young kid who the year before made $10.5 million at 25 years old.
Jesus.
And then he decided, because he was doing fundamental research on Qualcomm, that Qualcomm was a short at 25. Well, Tommy, guess where Qualcomm ended up at the year of 1999? It ended up at $1,000.
Oh, my God.
That young man lost $25 million, and he never paid taxes on his $10 million. So the IRS came after him to, obviously get the back taxes.
Wow.
So it was an interesting time, but it was also a time where you got to figure out on how exuberant markets can become, and then you saw the flip side, where in 2000, and I think it was March of 2000, where I said to myself, well, if the Nasdaq goes from 5,000 to 3,200, I'm gonna buy, because everybody told me you buy on pullbacks, buy on pullbacks, and then you know what happened, Tommy? The Nasdaq market went from 3,200 to 1,200.
Oh my God!
So buying on pullbacks works for until it doesn't work.
Yeah, and when you're in a situation, this new industry comes up, and the .com thing is happening, and nobody really understands it. Was that the whole deal? Is people just didn't really understand it?
Right, and then you had that's one of the factors, and then you had a lot of people who were coming out and saying, "Hey, this time was different." Right, companies don't need earnings, right? And to me, that's all BS, because eventually companies have to make money to sustain themselves. I remember sitting in a seat in 1999 and hearing a young analyst come on and say that Warren Buffett was wrong and he needed to change with the times, and that stuff. You hear a lot of that going on today. That this time is different. This time is different, and it's never different. I mean, mathematics is mathematics. Fundamentals are fundamentals.
And everybody, I don't know, they seem to have the lottery syndrome. Everybody thinks they're going to hit the lottery. This is how they're going to retire. And reality goes out the window. It's just surprising to me.
Well, you think about it. You look at all the newsletters that sell penny stocks, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think people don't And this is a problem in our society when it comes to our own money and it comes to investing. People want, like you just said, they want to hit that home run. And I was taught, and it's funny, my mother, when I first started to trade, and, I didn't come from, money. My father was a New York City corrections officer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And she said to me really interestingly one day, she goes, piddlings add up, and it was true. Hitting those singles, hitting those doubles, that's what it doesn't excite people, but that's what makes you money consistently over long periods of time.
Jeff, you keep
that keeps you in the game.
Yes, keep that thought. We're going to come back and talk a little more tactical income after this break. You've been listening to CEO Money. We'll be right back with Jeff, and he's going to bring us up to speed on his new book. We'll be All right, welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Tommy Habib, and I've been talking to Jeff Tomasulo, CEO of Vespula Capital LLC. Now, Jeff, before we went on break, I kind of touched on your book, Tactical Income.
Correct.
Let's talk about Tactical Income. I love the name. That should be a movie, Tactical Income. You nailed it from the marketing side.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It took me 20-something years to kind of figure it out, within the trading of what I was trying to accomplish. And, the tactical is basically just being very strategic on using, the option market to create income for myself and my clients. And, what I learned over the first part of my career, which we touched on, was that it was really hard to be consistent. And it started to drive me crazy. And I was just like, how could people, consistently make income in their stock portfolio? And what I was drawn to was the probability and the statistical analysis that occurs in the option markets. And it was going from, hey, I was sick and tired of trying to find out how many iPhones Apple was going to sell this quarter. And then if I was wrong, I was wrong on the stock and I had a hold on the stock for years to come. I wanted something more shorter term. And that's where I started to look at the option market. And when I started to say, hey, there's an 80% probability at this moment in time that Apple will not be above $160. Now, where else can you say that in the stock market? And then you could put a option trade on to take advantage of it. You could put an option trade on where you're taking more risk to make more money. You can define your risk. We're saying, hey, I only want to lose $100 on this trade or this investment, and I'm going to make 50, but I know the probability of success is 75%. And that really, a light bulb went off in my head when I started to learn this, and I was like, wow, why can't we all do this? And that's where tactical income started to take form.
Yeah, I mean, for your clients, anytime for anybody, when you can leverage and lean to a 75% probability, that's golden. Because I mean, when I look at the marketplace, it's pretty frightening for me. So I'm sorry to say we don't have a lot of time. I got about 30 seconds. I just want you to tell me really quick, what would you tell a new investor?
Well, one, I would tell a new investor you need to educate yourself, right? That's the number one thing. You need to throw yourself in there, try to learn as much as you possibly can. And the second thing is you have to understand, and Tom, you touched on this, there's no home runs out there, right? Like you have to work at being, an investor. And I think that's one of the problems we have in society today. Everybody wants that quick hit. And investing in the stock market or in the options market or anywhere, the real estate market, you need to have knowledge and you need to have patience and and that's, I mean, really what you have to work on.
Yeah, so there's no free rides in life. I mean, you can't just go to the 7-Eleven and pick up a ticket. If you want in the game, educate yourself on companies that can help you, very much like yours.
Correct.
It's a smart move, and you're talking very logically. They can get your book, Tactical Income, learn a little more about Jeff. It's Jeff Tomasulo, CEO of Vespula Capital LLC. Any other way they can reach you, Jeff?
Well, they could also, reach me, at vestulacapital.com. Also, we have an educational company called interactivetraders.com also.
Thank you so much for being part of the show. We're going to welcome you back at another time because there's so much more we want to learn.